And yes, here we are. Espresso Session, live from the mission. Nino Msk. Special guest today, all the way from Portland, Oregon.
Yep.
Doing a tour and playing a show tonight in San Francisco. Jeffrey Silverstein.
Hey, how's it going? Yeah,
welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I really appreciate it.
A pleasure to have you here.
Yeah.
So you're songwriter, musician, singer a little bit, and
yeah, a little bit is a good way to put it.
yeah. Because we heard one song from your EP, debut EP as a solo artist.
Yeah, I've been so used to playing in bands. I've done music in some way, shape, or form for probably over a decade, right? So that's working at venues, playing in bands, writing about bands. So it's kind of like I think at this point I'm a lifer, you know, like I have to do this in some way to stay sane. But it took kind of truly being, making the move from New York to Portland. And my wife and I didn't necessarily know a ton of people. And I think a really nice way to get to know a city is through music. So I kind of wound up starting to play on my own, and it's going well. It's a big challenge, but I think that's healthy to have for myself. So.
Yeah, like you mentioned, you are a writer, you are a teacher as well.
Yeah.
So you write a lot about music. You interview people, you feature them, review album.
Yeah, and that kind of like almost helps me exercise almost a different muscle in my brain. But I mean, yeah, I love talking about music, you know, how ideas, you know, do or don't come to life. And so when people, you know, are also willing to, you know, take the time out like you know, to do this for me about my own music, I think I have maybe even deeper appreciation. So yeah, it's cool. That stuff, I've been going at that for a while too, and I love it. I think it's an art form, just like music. I think to interview and to get people to open up, and so yeah,
it's coming from like something inside, no? Like a quest, like a curiosity, and also, you know,
yes,
it's a form of communication, so.
It absolutely is. Yeah.
So, you know, let's talk about this EP. Let's play a song after
Sure.
that.
Yeah.
So it's a 5-song EP. There is also, it's digital and cassette. And we start the show with the last actually track of the EP. So it's mostly like fell into the psychedelia, post rock. Because there are like guitars, little drums, like simple rhythm, like vintage drum machine.
Yeah, like I didn't really know how to start songs on my own. Like I was so used to when you have someone else that you're playing with, it's like, all right, maybe they've got a riff, or, you know, so it was a little harder just to kind of get started. But then I really kind of fell in love with vintage drum machines, and I realized that was a really nice starting point for me to write from. So that's kind of what kicked things into gear. You know, I could just push one button and have a bossa nova beat or a samba beat or a, you know, slow waltz beat, and that kind of helped keep the ideas flowing. And then, but all of it was written in this unbelievable setting on the coast of Washington at a place called the Southwester Lodge. It's old Airstream trailers that they've turned into places people can stay.
Okay.
And one of them is actually a vintage, it's unbelievable, it's a Ford motorhome, and they've transformed the inside to be a living quarters, but also a recording studio. So there's built-in amps and a piano even, and so I basically got to live inside a motorhome studio where I could also sleep. And then at the end of my time there, I played for whoever was staying, and they have like a little lodge there, you know, next to the fireplace. It was very cozy. But that was my first attempt at playing by myself in probably 10 years. And it was terrible. I mean, the show, you know, I mean, my performance was terrible. I think my wife recorded it. I don't know. I think I've been too scared to listen back yet.
I mean, it's like baptism of fire, no, they call it.
Yeah. But it was like, you know, I realized it was really fun, and so I kept going. And then eventually, brought those songs to someone I actually met while I was doing the residency out there, and he was the one he wound up recording it for me back in Portland. Yeah.
Cool. And How on Earth. Yeah, How on Earth was born.
Yep.
So you're coming from the East Coast, from New Jersey.
Yeah, grew up in Jersey. Yeah.
And you said that you had this musical education, like playing with bands, like bigger bands, and then you had for a minute like a duo called Nassau.
Yeah,
Nassau.
yeah. It was just the name of a. I mean, it's a real place too, but it was just the name of a subway stop we lived off of for a minute. Yeah.
So you've been dealing with music like your whole life. So like playing music,
yeah. In some way, shape, or form, it does seem like a lifetime now. You know, even back to playing, saxophone in middle school and having a really bad band in high school. Yeah, it was. You're right. It was all kind of part of an education of sorts. But it was really when I was living in Baltimore. That was the first city I lived where I really felt part of like a music community, and I feel like the band I was in, it was six people, more of like a psych rock kind of louder rock and roll thing, which was fun, but that's also a ton of personalities, a ton of opinions to kind of sort through. So that's also why I've been having so much fun on this tour, because like playing with other people is beautiful and can be so. That's another form of communicating. But when you're traveling by yourself, there's
and elevating
this,
also because you can elevate. Yeah,
exactly. People are pushing you, right? That's how you get better at anything. You play with people who are better than you. But there is something to like traveling by yourself and having that headspace, and then also like just not having if you want to stop, you stop, and you see you don't have to like you can just be in your own mode a little bit more. And I think as I get older, I also just enjoy being alone more. So yeah, I don't mind like a long drive, by myself. Yeah.
You've been playing last night in San Luis Obispo, no?
Yeah, that was one of the most unique music experiences. It was actually just a small vintage shop that he packs stuff up, and it kind of turns into this little venue. He just kind of opens this big kind of sliding garage door up. And he was the nicest guy. This guy Malik Thorne, I believe his last name. And I mean, really, in small towns to have places that special to play, where you showed up, he's got, he's ordering you pizzas, and he's got the beer ready to go, and it was kind of like a
good host.
Yeah, really good host, and that makes the most difference when you're traveling. So it was really really fun, and I've played the past few nights with a band from LA called Sonoda that I've kind of fell in love with their sound, and also just got lucky that they were such nice people, and we became, I think, just like, it was kind of funny, like, whoa, we became really close over even just a few days, so they went back home to LA, and I'm continuing back up.
And you're playing tonight at Hotel
Utah, which I've never been there. I actually don't know if I've seen a show in San Francisco, but I've been there a handful of times. I've got some friends and family here, but I'm stoked. Hotel Utah. I'm on first at 8 p.m. and then actually a band from Brooklyn is also on tour called Tan Bark, and they'll play. And then a really phenomenal songwriter, Michaela McVeigh, who I think is kind of from all over in California, will play as well.
Cool. 8 p.m. At Hotel Utah.
Yep.
Let's play a song from
sure.
How on Earth? Which one are you playing? You pick one, and did you introduce it, please, a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, we could do an instrumental song called "Given the Light." I believe it's the first track. Yeah.
All right, and you're listening to BFF.FM Espresso Sesh. Jeffrey Silverstein. and I was given the light, opening a track from How on Earth. The sound of the drums reminds me like the sound of this vintage drum machine called Eco.
I don't know it. Yeah.
EKO actually was manufactured in Italy. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, actually it sounds like kind of like this. Yeah, these are the hi-hat of the... Yeah, so...
yeah, I've just... one of the first shows I played in Portland, I saw another friend of mine, this guy Evan Way, really solid songwriter. He plays in a Portland band called the Parson Redheads, and I think his setup was, guitar, bass, pedal steel, but then just a drum machine instead of a live drummer, and I just kind of love the way that sounds. So I actually just finished making a new record, and so it's kind of like what the EP is, but a little bit more full band, but still just a drum machine.
The drum machine. Yeah.
But yeah, I actually, my wife and I were cruising around and killing some time in the guitar shop recently, and like just found another like vintage 70s one. They're just they're so neat looking, some of these old consoles too, and so it's like they're just fun, you know. But yeah, again, it's definitely been like a nice tool for writing and kind of just kicks things into gear. It's funny on mine though. I feel like I almost after a while I like ran out of tempos and buttons to push. You know, there's other ones that you can have like two rhythms happening at the same time, which is super fun. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, also the vintage one takes a little time to program them, and also you cannot store the patches, so you have to remind how they was and have like a skin. All this.
Yeah, I was playing live with the vintage one, which sounded cool, but I just felt like no matter what, it would give me trouble, and so now I just kind of have the laptop, which isn't as visually pleasing, right? It's not as cool looking, but it sounds nice. So yeah.
So let's talk about your like live setup.
Yeah.
So you have a guitar.
Yeah, guitar, vocals, and then just a handful of pedals that I kind of use to create some of like the more textural kind of sounds, and then kind of the drums I am running off of a laptop, but some of them really are the sound of the drum machine. And other ones, like I was mentioning earlier, are just kind of like more like found sounds that I've used different programs for, and
And you keep this this vibe even in your live show, no? Almost like on
it's
the
mellow,
ambient, post rock.
Yes, and it's funny because like that's kind of this way when people ask what kind of music you made. I've been saying ambient folk. I think it fits the bill decently, but sometimes I think maybe people think I'll then be even more experimental, but I kind of like that. Maybe I think my music kind of bridges the gap where if you like more traditional songwriter sounds, maybe there's something for you. If you like more shoegazy, it kind of maybe sits right in the middle. At least I think that's how I've been thinking of it. So ambient folk, I think kind of gets at that,
Yeah, like with more space for thoughts. Let's put it like that.
Yep.
Because it give you like more space.
And
elaborate.
Yeah, and I think I was mentioning to you earlier. I'm definitely like in regards to lyrics. Definitely a less is more kind of fan. So I like songs that just have kind of repetitive phrasing, or just a handful of lyrics. So, sometimes I'll just have a couple lyrics at the end of a song and that's it, and a couple others it's a little bit more of that traditional, okay, there's the verse, there's the chorus, there's the verse,
It's kind of controversial.
Keeps people guessing, I guess.
But it's controversial because like you're a writer as well, no? So you like you're like a wordsmith, and at the same time in your music you try to use
that's
the less as possible.
That's very funny. Actually, I didn't really think of that. Yeah, but I do think maybe that's even like with books or music writers that I enjoy. I definitely feel like more succinct. People that I think just try to. I enjoy like it's more matter of fact writing as well. So I think that's an interesting point. Right, not trying to be too lofty with descriptions, or it's just this is what it makes you feel, and this is what it is.
But also like you develop like as a writer or as a musician like your own like signature sound, like signature like style. So
and I think I think at least what I'm doing right now feels like me. Like, and that's why I think I'm starting to feel more confident doing the solo thing. I mean, these shows, you know, before this tour, I probably only truly played around 10 shows live, you know, not many.
As a solo artist.
So this is, there's no better practice than tour, right? Where you just, new people, consistent,
like day after day,
you know. So I think, you know, and then that just gets you, and I'm also realizing that just gets you more comfortable in front of people. But definitely I give anyone that is standing anytime, but especially alone on the stage, sharing their art, I mean, that's scary. And so I give anyone doing that a ton of credit, you know. Yeah,
but also, you know, like make you like your skin like thicker, no, like
absolutely,
you know, because you know now you can handle that situation. So
yeah, I'm getting there. I still think I'm gonna get up there and forget how to play the guitar, you know. It's like this, or the feeling kind of ramps up like right before. But on this tour, I think it's kind of one of the first times where, maybe it's just because I've been doing it a few nights in a row, where I'm remembering to just kind of like enjoy it for myself and breathe and you know, pause. And so
so this tour started from LA, no, and it's coming up over towards Oregon.
Yeah, it's about 8 shows in 10 days so far. I've done LA, Ojai, San Luis Obispo. I'm here this evening in San Francisco. Tomorrow is Chico. I'll play in Southern Oregon in a town called Ashland, and then the last one's back home. And I'll get to see my wife. Hi, Sunny, if you're listening. I think you might be. I love you. I miss you. And I really miss our cats too. And Portland is, you know, we've been there almost exactly 2 years. I think, I want to say this week might have been when we headed out, or around this time. And yeah, it feels like home, and we love it. And so it's you know, touring and traveling is so much fun, but you know, you kind of realize when home feels really good, it's just as good to be home as it is to be away.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of like you're going back. You know, it's like you see that at the end of the of the path.
Yeah, no? and I actually, you know, and at the same time, you know, I hadn't done more than a handful of days in a row in a while, and so I definitely like am remembering like why this is fun. You know, like why people in life I would actually choose to do this again and again. You know, but you know, I definitely. I don't know. I would be thrilled to do this as much as possible, and I'm also feel lucky and privileged that I get to have a nice balance with teaching, and you know, this is my summer vacation, so it's like, just it works. It's working for me right now, and I think people should, when possible, remember to do music on their own terms, and not let people say, oh, you have to tour this much, or you have to, you know, do this. And I think I'm kind of doing it on my own terms right now.
Guess I was like browsing through your writings, and there is one about being creative and having like a day job, 9 to 5, no? So it's like a guide.
Well, that's actually funny you mentioned that, because my friend Shannon, who I was mentioning earlier, she's written for that site before. She was the one that put me in touch with them, and she's been on this station. She's a big supporter of the station. And just a phenomenal individual. But yeah, so they do a lot of these guides, and actually my wife Sunny illustrated kind of what I wrote, and that's actually a really fun way for the two of us to collaborate. I love doing that, when she can put this beautiful custom art, you know, to my words. That's kind of her specialty, or one of them. But and crazy enough, I was told that was the most read article of that entire year. And then like even bigger publications were like resharing it, like Fast Company and these more like businessy. So I don't know. Apparently that resonated with people, and I'm really happy it did.
And you are like the living like testimonial, so you can do that. No?
Yeah. Well, I guess that's what I'm trying to get at, is like I want people to know that like you can do that.
You can do that. Yeah. I mean, we try to, like in San Francisco, kind of we have to have a job and sustain like artist life somehow. No?
Right. Somehow.
Like it's a matter of resistance. These days.
And it's like, and sometimes you want to just like let one fall off, or you know, or you get frustrated and you feel like I should just be able to do art, or if right? There's definitely like with me, different things are pulling at me. I think in different times, right? Like sometimes the writing will maybe take a little bit of the upper hand over the music or the teaching over, but yeah, it's kind of this like push pull, and right now, yeah, I feel like again just lucky that it's kind of all come together in the way it has.
You come back together.
Yeah.
And you were mentioning that you're working on some new material, no?
Yeah, I just finished making the new record, my first full length, which kind of builds off of what the EP is. I recorded it in Portland at a really beautiful studio with my buddy Ryan Oxford, who plays in a band called Ila Bumba. He's produced a lot of phenomenal Portland musicians, and it was a beautiful space. We did, and some of the songs also feature a good friend of mine, Barry Walker, and Alex Chapman on pedal steel and bass. So it's kind of a more fully realized version, I think, of the EP, and I'm so excited about it. And even on this trip, I hadn't listened to it again, in a minute, and I put it on in the car, and I was like, I like this. I feel, so I'm
confident in it.
Yeah, I feel confident. Yeah, so I'm ready to figure out, eventually I'll be sharing that, and I hope to play. I was saying, I kind of missed the live aspect, especially with playing with other people. So I would hope maybe I'll get the bass player and the pedal steel a little. Yeah, just that. I think that trio with the drum machine would be really cool. So
cool. Let's listen to another song of the
Sure.
EP, and then I would like to select some music for this show. Something that is influential for you, something that you're listening to these days, some other artists that you admire.
Sure,
It's up to you. Okay?
That sounds perfect.
Let's begin with one of your songs from
Sure.
How on Earth. Which one?
Let's see. Why don't we go with All Hands Raised.
All Hands Raised,
Yeah.
Jeffrey Silverstein, BFF.fm. and with some night crickets here. We're back. BFF.FM Espresso Sesh. So this is season 4, episode 31 for the 31st for the season, and 178 for the record. So
all right, I'm number 178.
178, yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, 178. Yes.
We got this.
Cool. Yeah. So keeping it real, like here in the mission.
Wow.
Thanks to BFF, there is a community radio station. It's no profit, and it's listener supported. So if you feel like, if you love the community, if you love the radio, if you love to listen to and discover new music, new artists, please support the radio station. Any donation is welcome, more than welcome. And you can do it if you are watching on Facebook. There is a nice button, donate button. If you are listening on BFF.fm, there is a donate button. It's on the top right of the website. So you can PayPal, Venmo, like Pigeons.
Yeah, community radio matters. So yeah, and it's kind of unbelievable that there's one this nice. So and just it's so cool to be here.
So we can have like Jeffrey, like a visiting artist from the neighbor states. Traveling.
Yeah, touring. I was saying this stuff is just like I said. It's just like the it's fun part.
But it's good to you make some music and we can like play the music out, like broadcast it and share your stories and
I love it.
Yeah, cool. We love it. So Jeffrey, now you're gonna be the selector here.
Sounds good to me.
What you brought for us?
I think the first thing I want to play is a record that's kind of blown my mind pretty recently. There's a now very popular group called Sylvanesso. And the more, I don't know what the producer side of that, right? It's him and then Amelia, who is, I think the most unbelievable performer currently, or one of. And so that Sylvanesso's the duo. Nick is kind of the producer. He also makes his own music under Made of Oak. But recently I came across a project where it's him kind of doing some more electronic ambient stuff, and then there's a guitar player that's kind of almost responding to that, and it's live. So right away, it kind of hit all of the things I love, right? Like almost natural sounds, beautiful guitar in open tunings, and it's just so pleasant. And it was kind of one of those I would love to do a record like this where maybe someone who was a little bit more, I grabbed someone that was a little more adept at the electronic side of things, and then together we kind of did the guitar electronic stuff. But this song that I'll play first is called Saturday, and this has been kind of my Saturday morning slow down, have your coffee. There's plenty of good coffee in Portland, but as I'm sure there is here too. Of course, yeah. But you'll have to maybe school me a little bit on espresso, though. I'm a noob, when it comes to that. So.
Okay, yeah. I mean, we saw. Let's give a shout to Noel here, keeping together the Secret Alley. That he got a new vintage espresso machine.
Whoa, okay.
And he's doing all the time. So, yeah, I mean, we can.
All right.
Even though you saw me, I was drinking some drip coffee.
I know.
I'm not an integralist. I love coffee.
I appreciate
no matter what.
I appreciate
even
that,
even the one.
I mean, sometimes I even miss that. That's one thing I do miss in New York, just like a bodega coffee. Like that cheap.
I mean, you can find the gas station.
Gas station coffee sometimes is all you need.
Coffee, Mari was. All right, so
so this song's called Saturday.
Hold on a second.
Oh yeah.
Let's give a disclaimer. So if you're listening on BFF.fm, there is no problem with it. If you're watching us right now on Facebook Live, the audio probably can be shut down because of copyright issue. On Facebook Live you can do and you can broadcast like a mass shooting, no problem with that. But paradoxically, if you play a copyright song, probably they can shut you off.
Got it.
So if you are losing us, just tune in BFF.fm to keep going. The video is just an extra. So.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a song called Saturday by Razano and Sanborn. Yeah.
And yes, I can see why you picked this song up. It's amazing, yeah. And also, it's a live version, so that adds, more value. I mean, there is value anyways, no,
Sure.
regard, but there's more like the momentum, no, that.
Yeah, you can. It feels like there's more of an energy there. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I actually, I mean, growing up like, musically, like I was a big fan of like Mingus, like jazz, no, Thelonious Monk. Actually, Thelonious Monk was like saying that the mistakes are part of performance, no.
Yeah, and I think it feels like I think there's just there's a lot of different camps of what people I think believe to be true about a song, and I think I definitely am in that camp of like digging the mistakes.
Yeah, also,
So, yeah.
don't make like too perfect, like.
And when I listen, there are bands I listen to now where both live and on record, the songs really are great. There's no arguing that these are talented people, but when it's that polished, sometimes even if it's a perfectly beautiful song, you lose something. There's a feeling that I don't know exactly how to describe that, but it's just not there.
Yeah, just
Well,
some
yeah.
human,
Humanity.
humanity. I mean,
Yep.
there are in like in the sequencers, there is the function to humanize.
Oh yeah,
When
that's
you
funny.
can
Yeah.
quantize and then you humanize.
That's
So-
funny. Yeah, computer and then human. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's yeah. So you, but we try to stay human. Do you have another selection in the meanwhile? Let's say shout to Lello. Yeah.
Yeah.
Other selection for the.
Sure. Yeah. I was mentioning that kind of Baltimore was the first, city I kind of felt really connected to musically. So I'm gonna play. To me, kind of one of the most like underrated groups. They don't get together that often because one, it's another duo. I'm recognizing I kind of like the duo thing, but this is a group called Peels, another instrumental duo. They've released music on Thrill Jockey Records, and it's the one guy from Future Islands, the bass player from the band Future Islands, and the other guy is Bruce, and he was in a band that people went nuts for a really long time in Baltimore called Double Dagger, more of like a post-punk, kind of thing. But they've only got 2 records, and I love them both. So this song is from a record called Honey on Friends Records, and this is Peels doing Essential Attitudes.
One second, let me say
Yeah.
thank you to Josie for your donation. Thank you for
Yeah.
supporting independent
Yeah,
community
thank you.
radio station.
All right, good.
All right. Essential Attitudes by Pills. And keep going. Please keep going in your selection.
You want to go for it?
Yeah. Because
cool.
I'm discovering like new stuff that I will never listen to.
Yeah, we'll do another one that kind of like something that kind of like just like when it's nice when you hear stuff. You're like when it really connects, and you're like that's kind of what I'm after. So the next one, I think it was just one record in the 70s that I think it might have even been kind of, a private press or like a really small run of this guy named Jack Adkins. But when I heard this, I was like, whoa, this guy like kind of plays guitar like I do. Okay. He's using the drum machine, and it's just this kind of almost spoken vocals, deep. Okay. And I also I have more of like a baritone register. I'm not much of a singer per se, I guess. But when I heard this, I was like, wow, that's like almost like I was almost kind of already doing it, and then I heard this and I was like, this is wild. But this is Jack Adkins, and the song is called American Sunset.
Cool.
Yeah.
We all know the need to watch the sun go down. We're lured to the west as our home goes around to watch our giver of life drown in the sea with melancholy finality. Be an ocean, plains, mountain, snow-capped purity. But it's going to go down somewhere in America for all to see. I'll watch. My son will watch. Hopefully the son of the son of me will also see an American sunset with freedom and its awesome beauty. We all know the need to watch the sun go down. We all know the need to watch that sun go down. Ooh.
Jack Atkins was a pioneer, like back then, like doing music like this.
Yeah.
Back in the 70s.
Yeah, that felt, I'm assuming that was not the norm, right? There weren't, there were not, 20 other versions of that. Like now, most of the time when you're hearing something, there's a lot of other different versions of something like that,
but also, so there was no home recording back then. So you have to go to a studio.
Which is wild to think about him planning that, but at a studio. Because like now, right, you would do that at home.
You can do that at home. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it was, and I like that he, just like those. I love music that's and movies that are kind of like set around driving, like Easy Rider, or there's one of my favorite all-time movies and soundtracks is a movie called Old Joy, and Yo La Tengo does the soundtrack. Funny enough, Bonnie Prince Billy Will Oldham is one of the actors in it, but it's a driving movie about kind of two guys reconnecting old friends, and the music is very fit for that. And what I just played, I always imagine for just
for a ride,
for a ride, yeah. So, and I'm definitely attracted to like kind of like that, just like quintessential like desert highway scene, kind of, and that's what I picture in my mind for that one. So yeah.
You want to go another one?
Sure, yeah. I was speaking a little earlier just kind of about doing things on your own terms, and a record that I've been, head over heels with for a long time. Another 70s musician. He was kind of a Detroit guy that would play on all the Motown records, this white guy named Ted Lucas. He was also kind of like, if you needed someone to play a strange instrument, like a sitar, he was the guy. Like no one else was really doing it. But he's all over really classic Motown records. And apparently he was a very hard person to work with, but he had this one record that, he really couldn't get picked up because at the time people wanted you to be one thing. You were a songwriter, or you were a rock guy, or if you were doing both, it was confusing for the label, right? Labels had to know how to market you. Now there's more leeway, but anyway, the first half of this record, this is only solo record, this guy Ted Lucas, is more traditional songs. The flip side to it, the B-side, is more instrumental, like raga, almost kind of guitar work. But when I first heard this person's voice, I was just like, I don't like that's what I like in vocals and singing. And I just really like the message. This song is Ted Lucas. It's called "It's So Easy When You Know What You're Doing."
Cool. And you're listening to BFF.FM Espresso Sesh.
It's so easy when you know what you're doing. It's so easy when you know how. It's so easy when you know what you're doing. It's so easy when you're doing it now. I know that your love was my undoing, but it's your money that got in the way. Whenever things they got a little trouble, you pack it up and take a holiday. It's so easy when you know what you're doing. It's so easy when you know how. It's so easy when you know what you're doing. It's so easy when you're doing it now. We've got to trust each other blindly. Only then will we have eyes to see. What we make of life, it never comes easy. Our hearts are tempered by adversity. Just as the baby cries out for its mother, so we all have to cry out for each other. And like the willow bending with the breeze, It's so easy when you know what you're doing. It's so easy when you know how. It's so easy when you know what you're doing. It's so easy when you're doing it now. It's so easy when you know what you're doing. Yes, it's so easy when you know how. It's so easy when you know what you're doing. It's so easy when you're doing it now.
Yeah, the simplicity of words. Yeah,
Tell me about it.
you
Yeah.
mentioned. Yeah, so this guy's voice captured you, know?
Yeah, just so soothing. It's definitely my, like, if I'm already in a really good mood, I'll put it on. If I'm feeling really anxious, it's kind of my, if I don't have to think about it. I've never gotten tired of listening to that. So it's definitely a good one for kind of calming the nerves. And like I said, it's these kind of beautiful kind of folk tunes on the first side, and the second side gets a little more experimental. But that's what I love about it. And it was just reissued on Yoga Records. So it's a little more easily available now, which is nice. And I mean,
Instead of paying like big bucks for
yeah,
I
was so excited when they announced this, and so now I've just been like, I mean, I've been telling everyone about this record for forever, but I mean, since I've known about it, I'm just like, get that record. Yeah, I really love it.
It's good to. That's why I'm asking you to pick songs
Sure,
because
yeah.
you know, like we can get you to know you better, no, from
Yeah.
the influences.
So that's and it's, you know, funny enough, I have this conversation. You know, when you go on, and I was mentioning Bonnie Prince Billy earlier. He, you know, he kind of talks about that when you go on tour. You know, one of the best things when you stay with other people is looking at their book collection or their record collection.
Yeah.
That's a way to know someone. The same way hearing me select songs is helping you know me, or I hope. But now some people don't have record collections or book collections.
The Kindle collection.
Yeah,
You cannot see
which
it.
I understand. I also understand it from like not like I'm definitely a minimalist. Like I don't like a lot of stuff. But you know, I'm always gonna have my records and my books. And just how though it's kind of interesting now. It's potentially you're going on tour, you're staying with someone, you're not looking at their collection, you're just passing the cord or the phone around, you know, and that's fun too. You know, it's just different. Yeah. So like what if I've been somewhere, like actually in Ohio where I just played. Like, I don't think a ton of people know about this Ted Lucas record, you know, and in certain folky scenes, you know, people know about him, and maybe more now because of the reissue. But before and after I played both shows, I just played in Ohio. He was playing this record and one other record that I couldn't believe he knew about and was playing before me, and it was just so perfect, you know, of all the in between music for bands that he could have been playing, he just nailed it, and it just. That also made the whole night for me, just getting to hear that with other people. So, yeah, Ted Lucas. You know, there's another one like that one's just it's so easy when you know what you're doing. The other one's just it's so nice to get stoned. And that's pretty much the whole lyric. That's the whole song. Yeah,
and it's pretty West Coast, you know.
It's West Coast for sure.
West
But I
Coast.
think that's also what's interesting for me is I think I was really drawn to a lot of West Coast, like the kind of all the like freak folk. Devendra Banharts and Vetiver and Vashti Bunyans of the world. At least at first for a while, like living on the East Coast, like that music wouldn't come as often to the East Coast. So like now that I live here and I get to like see some of these bands a little more often and be a part of it. Actually, Vetiver is from the Bay Area. He's been one of my songwriting heroes for a long time. Andy Kabik, getting ready to put a new record, I think. Yeah.
Waiting patiently for it.
Very, very patiently, trying to be patient. Yeah. Are we ready for another one? Or
Please, yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So this is I've also, in addition to kind of being attracted to some of these West Coast labels, I think there's so much cool stuff happening in Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
And there's a really beautiful record label called Keeled Scales.
Okay.
And the last time I was in Austin for South by Southwest, I kind of had heard about, but then caught a few of sets of this band called Sun June. And this is going to be a song called Discotheque by Sun June.
All right. BFF.FM.
It was plastic, discotheque, got it all wrong. Nothing left, there was nothing but a California fire. And I stayed in Captain Place, it was crazy. Just what you said, and I heard it from across the interstate. And I know this is gonna bring it down. Yeah, I know this is gonna bring it down. I was waiting, car downtown, had all this planned around the 3 years between you and me. But it was nothing but radios and curtains. Beneath those rows, it was burning from across the Palisades. And I know this is gonna bring it down. Yeah, I know this is gonna bring it down. Did you come back, pay back too? Did you come back, pay back too? Did you come back, pay back too? Did you come back, pay back too?
And this was Sun June Discotheque. Yes. And you're listening to BFF.FM Espresso Sesh. Jeffrey Silverstein is in the house. Doing some music selection. We've been through his EP. And he's going to play tonight. If you don't know, you will know right now. He's playing tonight at the Hotel Utah.
Yep.
In the meanwhile, talking about copyright, I think the Facebook realized that
Oh,
song,
that's funny.
yeah, there's a red.
That one hit it.
They want to hit it.
Yeah.
There is a red flag. Like in the meanwhile, let's talk for a bit, so the red flag will disappear.
Let's do it. We'll get that red flag out of here.
Actually, I was thinking, even without the red flag, I was thinking to play some of your songs from
Yeah.
the EP.
Yeah, let's do
it. Last one was that we played from was All Hands Raised.
I think we've got a couple left to choose from. You could do Pattern of Joy, or the Make Your Peace one. Yeah. You could do. I've been playing Pattern of Joy live more, so if you want to play that one, that could be nice. Yeah.
It can be like a little preview,
Preview.
for tonight's show.
Tonight,
8 p.m.
8 p.m. I'm on. Then really, really nice acts after me. Tan Bark and Michaela McVeigh.
And here we are at BFF.FM Espresso Sesh. Jeffrey Silverstein, Pattern of Joy. And this was a pattern of joy. Jeffrey Silverstein from How on Earth.
Yeah, it came out early in the year. I think January on Driftless Recordings. Really cool LA label, and they kind of, it's nice. They kind of hit that sweet spot of things I'm interested in, where some of their releases are more just beautiful guitar music, some of it's, guitar and electronic, or a little more out there. But pretty much everything they do, I enjoy, and so I felt really lucky to kind of come on board to do this release with them. So, yeah, Driftless Recordings. I actually, in Ohio, I just got to meet one of the guys for the first time, too. Cool. I had never met them in person, just email. So he came out, and that was really fun. Always nice, though, right? That's the other, I think, biggest part of doing all this is finally being able to put a face to some of the people. You're emailing people all the time. Yeah. So when you finally get to meet them and have a beer or whatever, whatever it is, it was nice. Yeah. That show was at this place called the Ojai Rancho Inn, which is just like a little boutique hotel, but they have a pool, and so they just have bands play by the pool for all, like, during the little daytime, almost like a small festival. And people that live there come, people that are staying there come, and it was just like one of the most mellow shows I've ever played, and my music's pretty mellow, so it was a good setting. Nice. Yeah.
Do you think like touring and having like time with yourself, like traveling, do you find this like inspirational, like to write new material?
Yeah, it was funny. Today was like kind of the first time where I was like just kind of like started almost just singing in my head, a bit on the way here. And I was like, oh, that might be a new one. Yeah. Or a lyric. So yeah, I actually do feel like it's definitely opening some floodgates, and I think also maybe just being able to, like, I've played some really cool shows in Portland so far, but I'm still new to that scene. I'm still new everywhere, so any opportunity is I'm grateful for. But so kind of, I think maybe getting to do this again, the practice, playing for new people every night, and you also kind of realize, I think at least in small towns where music maybe isn't even an option every night, like a San Francisco or a Portland or a New York, people, I think what's really beautiful is that, like, people will come and just enjoy and be cool with kind of most of what it is. There's not this kind of like hip pressure, or I don't know. I just these past couple of times I just played, it was such a relaxing experience. And I also feel like, I'm just saying, like, these are towns where maybe people don't make a lot of money, but they're also, like, willing to say, yeah, I'll pay, $5-10 to go see music, because they, I don't know, it's just really interesting in that way.
Yeah, it's less, I mean...
they're more, I think, more willing to stumble into music, to take a risk.
Yeah.
In New York, for example, like, when I lived there, for the most part, I was never casually going to see music. If I had tickets, I knew what time to get there. It wasn't so much, maybe I'll see someone new at a place I've never been. It was, I know I'm going there on that date. And that just tied also, though, to, like, how much work it is even just to get places in New York, or as I'd imagine in San Francisco. Right? You got to plan. If you need to be somewhere at 4 o'clock, you're leaving at noon, like, with the subways and everything else. So, yeah.
Yeah, also, like in big cities, people take for granted the music, and when you have options, you try to go for the most comfortable, probably. Yeah. So less adventurous. So.
Right. But from my understanding, there's, great venues here of different sizes, and, cool record stores, cool labels. And I've gotten to kind of know the city a little just from visiting friends and family, but this is, like I said, my first time performing here. So yeah.
But so you say you've been here before, no?
Yeah. Like old friend from growing up in New Jersey lives here now. Cousin lives here. A couple other people I know. So yeah, and then there's there was a music festival happening in Big Sur called Woods' Festival. They would do it at the Henry Miller Library. That's one of my favorite labels in New York, run by the guys that are in a band called Woods. But yeah, so any chance I have to be, in California or on the coast, I'll take it. Yeah.
Of course. And do you think there is like a sound of San Francisco or the Bay Area?
I mean, I definitely,
like, an identity in particular. Or?
I mean, I associate it. I know this is not by any means like probably accurate, maybe now or whenever, but I associate it with like psychedelic music.
Psychedelic, yeah. So the Grateful Dead.
Yeah, that's what that's the first thing I think of in my mind, at least. Yeah. I went and checked out the Grateful Dead house. I was so excited to see that. And
170.
Yeah. And like that's like new for me, like being really into the Dead, like that's new. So like all that stuff is fun for me. Like I'm like, yeah, I'll go to the head shops and cruise around.
I guess it was Jerry Garcia's birthday was this week or the next week.
It was on Thursday or something like that. It was funny. My friends, I was hanging out in LA, and he's a designer, and he helped open the Museum of Weed. That walks you through the entire history of kind of cannabis and marijuana in America, and even the dark parts,
with the repression.
And like how, and it was a really beautiful exhibit because it even had interviews, audio interviews with people who are in prison for life for marijuana sentencings. But I kind of forgot where I was going with this.
With the psychedelia.
Oh yeah, but it was funny. That opening was on Jerry Garcia's birthday, so I was like, "This is a pretty appropriate museum to open on his birthday." Yeah.
I mean, like you're from you live in Portland, so
it's silly, the weed stuff. It's just the amount of ways to have it, or smoke it, or eat it, or drink it. It's nuts. And I grew up, getting bad stuff from a weird guy. So,
tell me about it, man. Tell me about it.
Yeah, really different, and it's fun. It's fun to check it out. Even like when my parents came to town, like took them to a dispensary. See my dad, the dispensary. It's just funny, different thing, whole different ball game. But
also bombs and for like muscle pain.
CBD, CBD, everything. Portland loves their CBD.
There are things that are like good for you.
For pets too.
For pets,
right.
No catnip, but
CBD catnip.
I know. This is I mean, I'm from Italy. Italy is like still in the Middle Age for that. Or they know it, and they let the criminal organization make money, like flourish out of it.
I mean, you gotta. It's interesting. I don't know. I sometimes feel conflicted about how large of an industry. I mean, we have a lot of fun with it, but it's also kind of weird to think about that to some degree. Like all of the legalization, like for people who were doing it illegally, like that was it. Like they're out of work. That was what they did. I don't know.
The price dropped. The big names came. I know.
But anyway, if anyone gets a chance, if you're in LA, the Museum of Weed was one of the coolest exhibits I've seen, and it's open for a few months. And I think the idea would be that if it does well, it'll move. Maybe it'll pop to here or to New York. Okay. I didn't know about there's something called Weed Maps, which apparently is like the Yelp for weed.
Yeah, it's
But I didn't know because apparently it's only in California right now.
Yeah, it's only in California.
And I heard about that. That's who put this exhibit on. They paid for it, I guess. Yeah. And and it was really cool. There was like all these like influencers and Tommy Chong, Cheech and Chong. Do you know? They were there. It was quite the event, but really tastefully done. Really kind of focuses in on just so many different aspects of it that you don't think about as we're just like having fun with our CBD pen or
Cool. Yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing for real. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, you're listening to Espresso Sesh, best frequencies forever. It's 3:27 right now. It's time to play another song, the last song.
Let's finish it out.
Let's finish it out. And And then like we start wrapping up the show real quick because you have to play at 8.
Yep.
Get ready. I
Gotta
have
get
to go
to the
to
gig.
work.
Boo, work.
Boo, I know. What you gonna do? Yeah.
So this will be the 5th song. We've been jumping around a little bit off of my EP, How on Earth, which is out now on Driftless Recordings. This song is called Make Your Peace and Have It Too, and this is BFF.FM. Look at me, I'm taking over the show.
You
you
have that body,
I'm learning from the best. I'm learning from the best.
Cool.